Hi everyone, this is Quotidian Light, and I just want to show you what I'm currently using in my attempt to learn Spencerian handwriting. I've always wanted to learn Spencerian handwriting. My mother was born in 1934, and from what I can tell, that's the hand that she learned in school. She learned both Spencerian handwriting and Spencerian shorthand in school. Unfortunately, I switched schools a lot, and I grew up in the age where they were mixing. Like some schools were doing manuscripts, some schools were doing Danielian, and in the process, my handwriting just always looked bad. So I'm currently in the process of learning Spencerian handwriting. Now, I'm not trying to learn all the flourishes yet, so I'm really sticking to the business style, meaning that I'm using just a regular pen rather than a flex pen and doing all the flourishes. At this point, I'm lucky just to get the letter shapes right and to not have my wrist on the table. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about the resources I'm currently using in order to learn this type of handwriting. I noticed on YouTube there are a lot of people that pick up the copybook set that's put out by Mott Media. This is not a contemporary book. This is a copy of a set of books from 1871 that were used in schools up through at least the 20s, probably longer than that, because I've talked to people who remember using these. It comes with a theory book and then 5 copybooks. And the copybooks really are exactly what I said. It gives you a line of what it's supposed to look like, and then you just copy it over and over and over. From what I've seen on YouTube, the majority of the people that start out with this don't finish. At least if they finish, they're not doing videos on it anymore. And so a lot of the tips and things that they used in order to get through it aren't necessarily available on YouTube. I'm hoping that this video will help fill in some of the blanks, as well as the next video where I talk about getting the correct grip, because I really struggled with the way the book described the grip. What I will say is, when you go on Amazon, if you're getting these books, make sure you get the theory book. It's a good resource to have. There are a lot of tips and tricks in there. That said, you need additional resources because the language in this book can be hard to follow, given that this book really was meant for the teacher to read, and the process of learning took place in a classroom, and there are additional exercises that are not included in this book. What I'm using to find those additional exercises is a book called Modern Business Penmanship. Now, don't go trying to find a copy of that in the bookstore. It's a really old book. You're not going to find it. If you do, it's going to cost you a lot. But fortunately for us, it is available in PDF format on the IAMPETH website, which I will include in the down bar. That book contains the other exercises. These are the exercises that when I was in high school complaining about my handwriting, my mom tried to make me do them, and I gave up. They're great exercises. It also has a slightly better description of how you hold your hand. That said, there is, in the video where I show how I improved my hand grip, I do include a link to a blog that had a really good description of different types of handholds. Because really, if you don't get the handholds right, you're going to just get frustrated with learning this. And it does take time. So once you have your books, there are additional books out there, but these are just the ones I've used. Once you have your books, then you need your paper. Spencerian handwriting is written at a 51-degree angle. So, again, on the IAMPETH website, you can find PDFs of guide sheets. These are sheets that you can use to write. And if you notice, in elementary school, most people in the U.S. had, 2 lines and a dotted line down the middle. This is a little more complicated because it also has guidelines for the amount of slant that you want your letters to have. This is really, really helpful, but it can get a little busy on the page. So after using this for a while, I went to using French ruled paper, or Seyes paper. And you can get Seyes ruled paper online, just Google it. I'll include a link again. And This one's good because the lines are a little thicker so you can see it better than the actual paper I use. But as you see, this is the paper that French school children use in school to learn their handwriting. And it has thicker lines, and then each box is divided up in 4. So in addition to having guidelines for the halfway point, you have guidelines for the 1/4 and the 3/4 point. You also have these lines here. So if you go at this angle, or if you go at this angle, you've got your 52-degree angle for your Spencerian script. Now, I started out using, as you can see here, you can see an example of using French ruled paper to write Spencerian. Not well done, but that's an example. I went ahead and picked up a book of the paper from Goulet Pens. This is great paper. It's Clairefontaine paper. It's smooth. It's a pleasure to write with, and this is what I'm using. The boxes are a little smaller than the guide sheets I printed out, and now that I'm used to how the paper works, the lines being lighter makes it a little easier for me to use without my eyes getting tired. I love this paper. My son is getting ready to start his handwriting practice because his handwriting is horrible, and this is the paper that he's going to use as well. So I've got my paper. Now what do I use for a writing utensil? You can use pencil if you want. Pencil may actually be better for you if you're writing in the copybook, because the paper in the copybooks is pretty horrible. But that said, your pencil has to be pretty sharp and you're not going to be as precise. And what I found in the practice is the thinner your tip, the easier it is to see the mistakes or the things that you need to work on. So as you see here, this is the first page. There's bleeding a lot in there, and the lines are thick. I started out with a regular fountain pen. I wouldn't use a ballpoint pen. You have to press down too much in order to write, which affects your grip. So you want to use either a pencil or a pen. I recommend a fountain pen. I started out with an extra fine lamy, and I found that it wasn't fine enough. I found that when I was writing, especially like lowercase c's, ink would pull in the little circle, and so I wasn't able to tell if I was actually making the letter correct. So then I picked up a TWSBI VAX 700. I picked it up in fine, and again, even that wasn't fine enough. So right now I am using the extra fine, which is really fine. Let me see if I can get that to focus. Are you gonna focus? No focus. Can't see it. Sorry. It's fine. And because it's fine, you can feel the paper, which is good when you're learning because you can kind of feel where you're at on the page. But also being fine, if I'm making a letter, if I'm doing like a C, and I'm really bad at C's, so please don't judge my C. But let's say I do a C. That's like the worst. I can see that little loop-de-loop in the middle easier because the line isn't so thick. So for me, using a really fine pen is helping me be able to analyze my mistakes better. And so that's what I recommend. Most people, when they start learning Spencerian, they want to use either a straight pen holder or an oblique pen holder and like a pen nib. These are dip pens. And I will probably get into these once I have the basic shapes of the business version down and I'm ready to start learning to shade my letters. But I feel like learning how to flex a pen, learning how to control a flex pen, learning how to dip your ink, in addition to learning the correct letter shapes and learning the correct angle and how you hold your hand, especially if you spent a lifetime holding your hand incorrectly, it's just a whole lot of new all at once. And so in my mind, it's easier for me to focus on one thing at a time. And right now my focus should not be on flexing a pen. Right now my focus needs to be on how to move my shoulder, my elbow, my forearm, and my fingers correctly, and how to make sure all my letters look the same and are facing the same direction. So that's what I do, and I hope it helps. I love my fountain pens, and definitely, you know, I can see that becoming an addiction. I've always loved fountain pens, but now that I'm learning to write properly, I'm enjoying them more.